Gemini moons, the fairies of the zodiac. And I mean that in a pixie dust kind of way. Gemini moons are always jumping from person to person like little honeybees because they just love to socialize. Socializing is not like a weekly thing. It doesn't matter how many kids they have or how much work they have, they're going to socialize constantly. They're going to have lots and lots of friends, more friends than probably any other placement. So what is the combination of Gemini with the moon? Well, what is the moon? The moon is what you need emotionally to feel secure. It's what you go towards if you are in your home environment and you're feeling safe. It's what people that know you really, really well are going to see in you, the depth of your core. So this is the deepest down that you can go emotionally of what you are at your center. And what you're going to find is that some people, you think they're one thing and then they suddenly jump out as another thing. And that's the moon sign coming through. You can also think of it as the sun is something that you're working towards developing in this life. It doesn't always come naturally, even though people might think it does. And then your moon sign is what really does come naturally. It's what you already are. The sun is what you're trying to develop, and the moon is what you already are. Especially, I think, for women, because they're typically much more in tune with their moon sign. So a Gemini moon. Well, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. It is the most talkative, witty, and wordy. They are talkers. For a Gemini moon, they're going to seek out people that they emotionally feel like they can open up to and they can express how they feel through words. They need lots of friends that they can talk to. A Gemini moon also, to feel comfortable and secure, they need to not be bored. And it's easy to bore them because they don't like to stick to something too long. That doesn't go for relationships necessarily, it just means for topics and ideas and knowledge, because a Gemini just wants to pick up information. They want to learn as much as they can. They're not really in depth about certain things, they're more of a jack of all trades. They want to learn a little bit about everything, just like the honeybee that goes from flower to flower. They're very intellectual. They love to intellectualize things, and emotionally, they need to talk about their feelings. They will completely just shut down if they don't feel like you can understand what they're saying, and that's not a good thing. They need to be around people that they can express themselves to, that they know that that person understands how they feel. They're great with memorization, and really anything involves words. So their vocabulary is just like a Gemini sun. It's very evolved. I think that a Gemini moon is actually even more talkative than a Gemini sun. They never stop talking. A lot of actors are Gemini moons because their use of language is so evolved. And also their desire to socialize, because a Gemini moon wants their whole life to be socially involved. For some, they just want to be friends with people in their little town, and for others, they want the whole world to socialize with. A Gemini is also a bit of a social climber. I think all air signs are. You want to move up in the world. You want to make friends in the right places and know the right people. Gemini moons, not always the most dependable people. They will think that they can get everything done in the day, but they don't realize that they have planned 100 things. Everything to them is intellectual. So on an intellectual level, sure, everything sounds great. But when it actually comes to concrete, that's where they might not put the pieces together. They have very vivid imaginations. They love to use their imagination. They have to use their imagination. It's part of what makes them feel free, alive, and emotionally stable. They're a little wild. They're a little avant-garde. They don't necessarily want to blend in. They want to throw ideas around, and they want to be the honeybee going from place to place and seeing this person and that person. They don't necessarily always fit in. They want to be accepted for who they are and all their originality, but they're not always like everybody else, and they don't mind that. That's the pixie fairy in them. They add a bit of spice to every environment that they're in. Because they're so open-minded, sometimes they're not very decisive. It's really hard for them to finally make a decision, especially about things that are going to be forever. They don't even necessarily understand forever. It's a little too much to comprehend. To them, everything is open-minded. Nothing is concrete. They need mental stimulation. If you want to attract them, attract their mind. They need somebody who has amazing ideas and someone that can open up new vistas of thought, not just some hot, sexy body. Of course, that could probably help too. Geminis are great friends. It's not as much of an intense relationship kind of position, but it's very, very socially connected. Relationships for them might not be as intense as, say, like a Scorpio moon kind of position, but they're going to be very involved with their friends and their friends' lives. and they'll have a very large social circle. Gemini moons love to see what makes people tick. There's a bit of a psychologist in them and a doctor, a psychiatrist. They want to talk and have somebody express all of their feelings. Now, part of the reason why they want to do that is because, yes, they are an air sign. That's the intellectual and communication, but it's also that they are afraid of deep emotions for themselves in their own life. And so sometimes their way of dealing with this is to experience those deep emotions through somebody else's life. They want to talk about someone else's deep psychological experiences, but they don't necessarily want to bring that into their life in a real way. Sometimes a Gemini will run away from an experience that might have been really positive, but it's just they feel scared and intimidated because of the deep emotions involved in it. They kind of like to laugh things off in their own life. They don't always want to talk about their emotions. They want to talk about everything and everyone else except their emotions. So Geminis, remember that life is partly about expressing your feelings and finding out what makes you tick, not just everybody else. Don't be always afraid of deep emotional connection because yes, it's scary to a lot of signs, but it's also going to bring great rewards in terms of wisdom. Geminis are great with words in a variety of different ways. One thing, they're great with making people feel better. They can talk you up and take you from having a bad day into a great day. They also make great writers, so they're good at taking words and spinning them in a creative new way that is either funny or witty or charming. Usually have a great sense of humor because they do see the silliness of life. They love silliness. They live for silliness. A Gemini moon is more like a comedy than it is a drama. They are stepbrothers. They are the hangover. They want to have a good time. They want to have memorable experiences with their friends that they can take throughout their life. They don't mind talking on the phone for hours and hours. As long as the person they're talking to is mentally stimulating, they're going to feel that it's time well served. Gemini moons have a childlike wonder. They have a very sunny disposition, and that attracts lots of friends to them. And they always look youthful. So they'll be a lot older than you think they are, but the way that they dress, the way that they carry themselves, the way that they're always smiling, how talkative and excited they are for new experiences. They love to play. It just makes them feel younger. Sometimes this can get them in the hot seat because even if they're in a committed relationship, they might be flirting and they don't even know it because they're just so kind of open-minded. And so that's a little tricky, Gemini moons out there, watch that. But also part of the person that they're looking for in a partner is somebody who's not too emotionally intense. They are scared of intense emotion because they just can't intellectualize it. So they're looking for a partner who is not going to take them into the dark heaviness of temper or anger or sadness or depression. They want to learn about it, but from a safe distance. So that's why Gemini moon, often they can make really good psychologists. Lots of Gemini moons are something involving words, creativity. A lot of actors, artists, bloggers, journalists, talkers. Gemini moons, because you do get scared of those intense emotions, it is important to sometimes deal with them. When you're having to deal with one where it's just unavoidable, it can help you to write down a journal or to throw yourself into some kind of creativity. Dream therapy, something involving creativity, words, it can help you express your emotions in an easier way. So if you've seen the movie Inside Out, it's a Pixar animated film, Gemini Moon is totally joy. Completely. Even the storyline, everything about it. I was also thinking of Julianne Moore, her Oscar speech, totally and completely a Gemini moon. All right, so Gemini moons, thanks for being so lovable and keeping the world talking. Come back next time for Moon in Cancer.